Hello guys, and welcome to today's weekly commentary episode. This is actually not going to be a commentary, it's going to be a short story. One of my subscribers, which was familiar with the fact that I write short stories, requested one specifically, and so here it is. I present Fear the Deer. John was a stubborn man, and easily distracted. These traits rarely collide in the same person, but when they do, they can result in a near paralyzing condition, especially if the person is an author with a computer. Computers are wonderfully efficient technology, offering the ability to effortlessly revise your document and do impromptu research on the internet, but the plethora of fascinating web pages just a click away can be a deep pit for the easily distracted author. And that is how John found himself reading about the Milwaukee Bucks on an evening when he had committed himself to writing a short story for his friend's birthday. It was a brilliant idea, the idea of swapping stories instead of presents. The truth is, he and his friend were both broke, and they fancied themselves to be accomplished authors. But what should have been gestures of mutual birthday cheer had turned into an undeclared contest. The trouble was that her salvos were crisp, brilliant, and delivered on time, waiting in his inbox on the morning of his birthday, taunting him with their superiority. His had a tendency to straggle in a few days late, poorly edited, and a bit rushed. A less stubborn individual might have gone to bed hoping for inspiration in the morning, but he had been down that road too many times before. This time it would be she who would wake to find an irrefutably dazzling work of fiction that dared her to try and do better. He was merely searching for inspiration, he told himself as he clicked on a link which promised to give Milwaukee's playoff chances in the NBA. It was really quite sad. He cared nothing at all for the Milwaukee Bucks, but he had already read the stories about the chances of the 15 other playoff-bound teams and figured he might as well make a clean sweep of the subject. His bleary eyes scanned the page without interest, coming to rest momentarily on a picture of a Milwaukee fan who proudly held aloft a sign proclaiming, "Fear the Deer." Wow, fear the deer. How utterly lame, John muttered mockingly as he minimized the internet window and returned to his blank document. The light on his face and desk shifted from the green and red of the Milwaukee Bucks webpage to a sterile white. Back when he sat down, daylight had filled the room. Now moonlight glowed faintly through the windows a few feet to his left. He was planning on turning on the light, but he was just going to finish this first. The desk did not provide much inspiration. If he was a highly organized type, or inclined towards cleanliness, it would have compelled immediate action. As it was, the empty glass, 2 plates, one sprinkled with drying broccoli, the other smeared with ketchup, and the salt shaker only reminded him of how long he had been sitting at the desk. I could write a story about a guy who was trying to write a story, but then procrastinated until it was too late, he mused aloud. If it was told with a humorous narrative voice, it could be quite funny. He reopened the webpage. Maybe I could write a story about someone who is striving to overcome his phobia of the Milwaukee Bucks mascot. 2 wedges of fur appeared in the window next to him. They slowly rose to reveal large, wide-set eyes and a triangular muzzle. The eyes glowed pale and cold in the moonlight as they stared at his surfing profile. About halfway through the article on a newly discovered species of slug. Slugs have been known to be amazingly compelling characters. John became gripped with a sense of being watched. He cast a quick glance toward the window. A single deer loitered outside, nipping off the lower leaves of an alder. Besides the rustle and snap of the deer's foraging lips, the night was completely silent. It was one of the wonderful things about living this far out in the country. Everything was so completely tranquil. He looked away from the deer and back to his webpage. What makes a slug a new species, he wondered. This particular slug didn't seem to distinguish itself much from its slimy fellows. The wedges of fur returned to the window. They twitched momentarily, taking in the rattle of keys as John typed in a new web address. Then the whole deer's head rose to resume its surveillance. Now, a pair of smaller ears appeared beside the first, and soon 2 pairs of glimmering eyes followed John's every unsuspecting keystroke. The first deer spat out the glob of decoy leaves that it had been chewing, and a green slug-like blob. John returned to his document and made a few feeble keystrokes. There once was a... delete. On a misty morning, slipped the slug... delete. Ack! There was that feeling who's being watched again. He spun to look out the window. A pair of ears moved languidly past, while the original deer was still nipping off the alder leaves. John got up and leaned close to the glass to get a better look at the animals. The moving pair of ears belonged to a second deer, which had begun grazing on the unkempt grass along the edge of John's house. Now that he was up and looking outside, John found he couldn't remember whether or not he had fed his cat that day. He walked past his listing computer chair and to the door. There was a small dark hallway with his bedroom to the right and the living room opening on his left. Moonlight spilled to the living room windows and drew through luminous squares on the cluttered carpet. Man, I need to vacuum, John thought as he made his way to the front door. The motion-sensitive porch light flicked on with its characteristic click over his head, shining down on a full bowl of cat food. Well, I fed him, but he hasn't eaten any of it, John muttered aloud. He stepped back onto the entryway linoleum, preoccupied by the oddity. I hope nothing really got the little guy. He made his way back to the computer room and sat down. This story was going nowhere fast. He let out a long sigh. Then his hand drifted to the mouse and reopened the web browser. Musk deer. What a weird name. He clicked on the link. The pictures were actually quite creepy, full of little deer with mottled fur and pointed incisors. Thinking of deer, he glanced out the window to see if the miniature herd was still eating there. They were. The alder trimming deer had lifted his head for a higher leaf and... No way! The moonlight glimmered off a protruding incisor. John was amazed by this gap in his zoological knowledge. He considered himself well acquainted with animals of all time, but he had not known that musk deer even existed until a moment ago, and here was an entire herd of them grazing just outside his window. He returned to the web page with new zeal, proposing to erase this ignorance. Maybe he could write a story about a spunky musk deer with uneven tusk. But it said here that musk deer live in Asia, and they're actually quite small. His eyes snapped back to the window. Had he just imagined the fang? The deer both faced away from him. But wait, there was a third deer now. It moved towards its fellows through the shifting gray brush, never giving John's searching eyes a clear view of its head. But could it be that their forelegs were just a little too thick? Did all deer have those black bristling hairs around their shoulders? No. It was all his imagination, just a trick of that weird article in the uncertain moonlight. He quickly closed the web page and focused his attention onto the blank document. Now 3 angular faces loomed in the window beside him, and the newcomer had a clump of tabby fur clinging to his muzzle. John stared doggedly ahead, ignoring the growing dread twisting in his chest and refusing to nervously check the window for watching eyes. His shaking fingers tapped out a defiant sentence. The gentle morning breeze swept over the meadow, and the sun-kissed daisies bobbed their bright faces in... delete. The 3 pairs of luminous eyes watched him with interest. John made a brave attempt to start. Gentle waves washed in a ceaseless lullaby on the smooth golden shoreline, which rang with the delightful shouts of joyful children, frolicking in the clear... Oh. Delete. Lame. The third deer licked its left fang clean with a sinuous tongue. John stopped. Was he afraid of the deer? Without caving to the urge to look out the window, John got up and strode purposefully to the light switch. He would banish these insane delusions of dark and shadow with clear, bright light. He flicked the switch on. Now, when he looked at the window, only his reflection stared back at him. A balding man in his 20s, with close-cut hair, fatigue-lined face, and wide blue eyes. He shook his head to clear his mind, and slipped back into the desk chair. No words came to him, so he thought he would calm his mind by looking up something soothing, with nothing to do with nature, like maybe a comic strip. The Far Side wasn't very funny that day. A pair of deer had turned the tables on a hunter and stood over the man's body with smoking rifles. The cloud of dread intensified in his mind. At each rustle and pop, his eyes flicked to their reflection in the window. But the window only showed his room, cheerful green walls, video game posters, and a cluttered desk. And that was the problem with having a light on in the room. You could not see out, but everything outside can see in. His skin felt like it was crawling, and the certainty that he was being watched wormed its way deeper into his cringing mind. Something struck the glass with a hollow thud. That was it. The tension was too much. John rose and backed toward the door. Intently watching the reflection in the glass, he found the light switch. He flicked it off. 20 shining eyes stared at him through the single pane of glass. The entire window frame was filled with long, triangular faces, Their fur shone glowingly silver in the moon's glow. They erupted in a strange, strangled, bleating growl as if laughing at his terror. Fangs jutted incongruously from the deer's upper and lower jaws. John lurched back, stumbling through the doorway and throwing himself to the right and into his bedroom. He slammed the door shut and locked it, then lunged towards a 12-gauge shotgun. He pulled the gun out of the closet with trembling hands, his eyes darting from the room's door to the windows and back to the door. With a sudden surge of confidence, he thumbed the safety off and racked the action to chamber around. But the gun was empty, and he suddenly remembered where his box of buckshot was. It sat in the entryway closet, on the top shelf, over the coat racks, across from the door. Trying to control his wild panic, he stepped to the door and unlocked it. He steeled his nerves. He would have to run past the open computer room door with all the watching eyes, grab the ammo box, then run back full speed to the bedroom. He could do that. The click of the automatic porch light chilled his blood. Had he made sure that the front door was latched when he went out to check for the cat food? He couldn't remember. The softly creaking hinges of the front door whispered back a horrible answer. Hard hooves clacked on the linoleum of the entryway. John slumped down against the flimsy bedroom door, shuddering in fright, and the horrible twisted deer came down the hallway, with the thump of their hooves muted by the carpet into a murmur of doom. John blinked stupidly for a while, his heart rate gradually slowing as he adjusted to his surroundings. He was lying on his keyboard. The sky could see through the swaying branches at the window, blushed with the first breath of dawn. Ah! He had fallen asleep while he was trying to write a story. He lifted his head with an effort, noting with distaste that a trail of drool drooped from the corner of his mouth into a pool around the H, J, N, and M keys. His document was 2,487 pages long, but the quality of the writing had suffered a little from drowsiness. A continual stream of random gibberish stretched on into near infinity. It was sort of like a literary work of modern art. But today was his friend's birthday. He should have already emailed the masterpiece. But it was no matter. He had a story idea. His dream had been terrifying, gripping, and utterly creepy. If he just wrote it down, he would have the story done. Now what was it? He was trapped in the house. The shotgun had no bullets. Something was eating the cat food. Was it slugs? Wait, what? No one needed a shotgun for slugs. You would just squish them. But maybe they were giant slugs. Oh no! It was all slipping away. He mentally rushed this way and that, trying to corral the fleeting fragments of the dream. But the last vapors of the night's chilling horror had melted away, slipping completely beyond his grasp. John pushed Control-A, selecting the entire document. He pushed Delete. The end. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that story. And if you guys want future stories, you can always suggest a story topic or just request a random story, and I will do my best to give you one. And of course, as always, you can always suggest commentary topics that you think would be interesting to discuss, and I have a backlog of them, and I know I'm going to get to them. And of course, writing stories is quite a time investment, so if you guys did enjoy this, I would really appreciate it if you could send it on to people who you think would enjoy it, and of course, give it a like. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.